All right, well, good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to welcome all of you who are watching and following along with this edition of the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame's Hall Call interview series. As always, I'm Will Driscoll, the executive director here at the Hall of Fame, and hopefully everybody has some clean brackets still. We're about halfway through the first day of the NCAA tournament, so it's a very exciting sports day, not just here in Virginia, but across the country. Before we get started, though, as always, I'd like to thank our partners who help us put Hall Call and everything we do here at the Hall of Fame on. Priority Automotive, City of Virginia Beach, Davcon Inc., Optima Health, ESPN Radio, and Davis Business Appraisers. We're able to bring you programs like this because of their support. Well, we are just 44 days away from our 2022 induction. And for those of you who haven't been following along, this is actually our first induction since 2019. We were 6 weeks shy of our 2022 induction 2020 induction when the pandemic began back in 2020. But as we say here in the office, history is about to begin again. As part of the run up to the induction, we are thrilled to be joined today by one of our incoming inductees, Anthony Poindexter. You see him on the screen there. Anthony has certainly made his mark on the gridiron here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. The Lynchburg native was the 1993 Group 2A VHSL High School Player of the Year before becoming one of the all-time greats at the University of Virginia. One of three Cavaliers to be named All-ACC 3 times. He is also one of only 2 Wahoos to be first-team All-American twice with a consensus choice in 1998. Truly one of the all-time greats. Anthony, thank you for taking some time to join us today.
Oh, it's great to have me. Thank y'all for having me, Will. Appreciate it, buddy.
Absolutely. Well, Anthony's actually joining us from State College, Pennsylvania, where he's now co-defensive coordinator for the Penn State Nittany Lions. So still very close to the game of football. And we were just chatting a little bit before we came on here. Spring practice actually starts next week. Now, you're still obviously heavily involved in football, but what does spring practice, what kind of memories does that bring back for you as a player?
Well, initially it brings back bad memories, but nah. I know just spring practice just bring back memories of, going back to the basics, getting back to the nuts and bolts of just playing football and the basic stuff that you run on offense and defense and, really competing for a job. So I like this time of the year. Everybody has, starting with a fresh slate and guys get an opportunity to show what they got leading into the offseason.
In your first spring practice at UVA, you're coming from high school, Jefferson Forest High School. I didn't mention that in my intro. So Jefferson Forest High School in Lynchburg. What was the biggest difference that you saw going from Jefferson Forest to your first spring practices at the University of Virginia?
Well, I never forget. I remember walking into the locker room and like my first day, and I'm looking, and it's one of our offensive linemen. He was balding, so I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm playing with grown men. So back then you didn't have cell phones, so I waited at the payphone that night, and I called my mom. And I'm like, Mom, I'm playing with grown men up here, and it was just shocking, just the size of them. Coming from a smaller school out of JF, and you weren't used to seeing those size linemen. And, but, I got used to it and, tried to make the best of the career,
Is there a difference between Anthony Poindexter, the player, and Anthony Poindexter, the coach?
Yeah, I think it's a difference between the player, the coach, and the person, really. As a player, I almost transformed myself into someone, who I really didn't know. Like I would probably say I was mean. A lot of people would say I trash talked a ton, very competitive. Just when I stepped between the lines, I almost, something came over me. It's hard to explain, but, as a coach, I try to mentor, I try to teach. I think early in my coaching career, I tried to coach like I played more. But as time then evolved and as I evolved in the business, I'm trying to get adjusted to how the game is being played nowadays. And, kids are still kids, but they're exposed to more, and you try to get to know each kid so you can coach him the best way. And as a person, I'm more laid back. I'm not I'm more fun loving, and I just like to have a good time,
Well, you mentioned trash talking. I can't get away without asking you. You played against some really good teams in the ACC in the 90s. Who was the best trash talking opponent that you faced?
Oh, no. Oh, let me see, man. This was so long ago. I mean,
not that long ago. Don't make us both feel old.
I tell you what, we had some battles against Virginia Tech. I mean, it was a lot of trash talking there because we all from the state.
Yeah.
You know, even more so back then. You know, both teams were built basically off of the state product. So we were all friends, but you know, we knew how much that game meant for the state of Virginia, and we both teams wanted to win. I had two I had two high school teammates that played for Virginia Tech. A lot of my high school went to Virginia Tech, so I know I amped my trash talking up that week, and you know, a lot of those guys did too.
Well, I know that just being a Virginia native myself, and obviously being a part of the Hall of Fame now, that trash talking hasn't stopped.
Yeah,
still alive and well. You know, growing up in Lynchburg and getting into football, obviously at a young age, and then becoming the player you were, who was your biggest mentor growing up before you got to college?
Well, Will, I have to correct you on this. I'm from Forest, Virginia.
Forest.
I know my people back home, so I know they would be all over me if I didn't recognize our hometown. We're very close to Lynchburg. I live probably 5 minutes from Lynchburg line, but you know, it was a lot of people that kind of affected my growth growing up in the game. But I would have to say, like, my cousins are older, so I always looked up to them, and they were playing before I was playing, so they probably 8 to 10 years older than me. And when we would go to my grandma's house and play in the backyard, I would just watch them. And, you know, the one guy I remember that used to come down to my grandma's house was a guy named Danny Davis, which most people really don't know, but he was one of the best players in the state of Virginia. They used to call him the man with the red shoes. He played for Rushburg High School. And he was a phenomenal football player, the best football player I think I'd ever seen in my life, even to this day. And I didn't play with Ray Lewis. I mean, this guy was phenomenal. And I thought to myself as a little kid, I just want to be like Danny Davis. You know, he was tough. He played running back. He played middle linebacker, and he could run like Walter Payton, and he could hit like Mike Singletary in my mind at that young age. I mean, he was like bigger than life to me. And just watching him play and just the passion he had for the game. And when you walk to the stadium, that's in the 80s. I mean, people had T-shirts of this guy, Danny D on his shirt. I'm like, this guy is like the guy. So, I mean, I really watched him. I watched my cousins. I was fortunate enough in Little League to have great coaches. Obviously, when I got to high school playing for Bob Christmas and my D coordinator, Ed Landis. And I've been blessed and fortunate just to have great coaches and great role models to watch along the way.
I think that one thing that always is pretty apparent with anybody who experiences any amount of success in sports is the fact that they did have that good support system through the coaches, through the peers, colleagues, just mentors in general. So that's great to hear that support system started early. You know, when do you feel, though, as a player, you made the leap from, you know, obviously just growing up, just learning the skills, the developmental portion to, oh man, I have something special here. I can do something with this gift.
Well, you know, my brother was the first. My brother John is 3 years older than me, and he got an opportunity to go to Ferrum College where he played football and baseball. So I would go over there when I was in high school. I mean, in 10th grade, I was 5'9", 150 pounds. So, you know, I won't think he majored college football. I would go watch him play and watching my brother play and his success at Ferrum. You know, I hit my 11th grade year and I sprout up 3 inches. You know, I'm 6 foot, I'm 170 pounds. And I started to, you know, in my 10th grade, I made a lot of plays. You know, I got my name on the map, but I was still a little kid. And then when I came back from my junior year and I had the size to go along with the playmaking ability, I don't know. I don't think I was like kids nowadays. I wanted to post it or not like that. And just in my mind, I was driven to I think I can play, you know, and I just, each level or each, you know, challenge like states and stuff like that, you just got a chance to prove yourself on a different platform each and every week. I was fortunate enough to play in 3 state championship games. So when I was able to play well in those games in the playoffs, it just kept building my confidence that, hey, maybe I can do this thing at a high level.
Well, you mentioned it, you know, you didn't you didn't have the mindset to post, but we also didn't have the platforms to go and
Right.
post all the highlights back then. So recruiting was way different back in the mid 90s. But do you have any fun or funny story from being recruited, your recruiting journey until you committed ultimately to the University of Virginia?
Well, my recruitment was basically a regional recruit. I mean, I just remember UCLA calling my house, and back then everybody called your home phone.
That's right, landline.
I heard the guy talking to my mom, and my mom said, "Ain't no need for you to call here anymore because my baby ain't going out to California." So that never really got to talk to the UCLA coach, but I was fortunate enough to be recruited. It came down to Virginia Tech, North Carolina, and Tennessee. Coach Kavanaugh at North Carolina did a great job. Mac Brown was actually the head coach at the time. They
recruit you again now.
Yeah, they did a great job recruiting me. Everybody thought I was going to go to Carolina because my dad was a Carolina basketball fan. My dad had never been to Carolina though. Like it wasn't like he grew up. I mean, it was just the team that was on TV the most. And whatever happens, he just started liking North Carolina. I went to Virginia Tech. Like I said, I had two teammates that went the year before, Byron Spinner and Brian Jennings. So a lot of people thought, I would follow in their footsteps, and also Cornell Brown had just went that same year. So a lot of guys from the local area were there. I got a lot of people from my high school there, but Tennessee was just too far. I went down there on my visit and it was snowing the whole trip down 81. And it was only 4 hours, but it could have been it felt like 16. And I'm like, I can't nowhere in the world I can go this far from home. It was so big to me. I was like, I can't go there. And really what people didn't know is my best friend in life, Ryan Gilliland, we grew up together. We played every sport together. And he was going to college to play baseball. He had committed in December to play baseball. Now, our whole life, we've been saying we're going to college. He going to play baseball. I'm going to play football. He kind of made my decision easier when he committed to go to Virginia in December. Because, baseball signing day earlier than the football signing day. So he had committed and signed to go to Virginia. And in my mind at that point, it was like, this going to really happen. Me and Ryan G going to get to go to school together. And I went to Virginia. I loved to visit. Ironically enough, Mike London, who I ended up working for and working with, brother was my host. I had a childhood friend named C.E. Rose that was on the team. It was just a special thing. Danny Wilmer recruited me. I love Coach Wilmer. Coach Marcos was my DB coach. And, everybody, I was scared as hell of George Welsh, but, he's neither here nor there. I was scared of Coach.
We'll get to him in a second.
I was scared of Coach, but it felt right to me. Yeah. Even though Ryan was going there, when I went on the visit, it felt right. It was my last visit I took. And me and Shannon Taylor were roommates on the visit. And after the first night, we go out with the guys, whatever, we come back to the room, we land in the bed, and we like, yeah, man, we coming to Virginia. We're going to commit here. This is a spot for us. So this kind of, I don't know if it's funny stories or nothing like that, but it was just kind of ironic how all of it worked out. And ironically, that Virginia was the last visit that kind of, and a lot of people say if you're the last visit, that's where your mind, but it was just something about Virginia. When I walked onto the campus, instantly, I just said, you know what, this is going to be the place for me.
Well, it's amazing. And, there are so many recruiting stories that are like that. There's a personal connection that gets the student athlete to make that ultimate decision. And I think a lot of those get overlooked sometimes or just not told. And right. So those are the stories that I know that we like hearing and our audience likes hearing. But you mentioned Coach Welsh, fellow Hall of Famer. You've actually mentioned a couple of Hall of Famers, Cornell Brown, whose brother's with Reuben Brown. Yeah. From Lynchburg, not to be confused with Forrest, but you mentioned Coach Welsh. You said you're scared of him. Give us a little bit of insight into your relationship with him. We actually talked with Herman Moore recently, and he said the exact same thing. They had their run-ins together, but he was obviously a hard coach, but a great coach.
Well, I know guys had run-ins with him. I never had a run-in with Coach. Yeah. And when I say scared, I told people this at his memorial service we had back in Charlottesville. It was a respect scare. Mm-hmm. He was like a iconic figure to me, and Coach wasn't the friendliest person to be around. But kudos to him, he treated everyone the same. So, and you might walk down the hallway, he would act like he was invisible. He wouldn't say nothing to you. That was from Tiki Barber to whoever else, the walk-on guy that, you know, he didn't like, he was Thomas Jones. He walked past, he walked past me. And until I became a team captain and I had to go into his office, which I was scared to go into his office at all times. I did not want to be in his office. I did not want to have personal conversations with him. I really truly figured out who he was and how much he cared for the team. But the story I tell people that really showed me how much he cared was when I was thinking about coming out my junior year. I went into his office. Again, my palms sweating. I'm sweating all over the place. And I'm going in to tell him, man, I'm coming back to school. I don't know why I was scared, but so I come in, I sit down, I said, Coach, I want to come back and play for you. And he was like, that's great, but I don't need you to come back and play for me. I done made my money. He said, I didn't realize you was ranked this high. And I would love for you to be back. And he went down the list of stuff. You know, I just had a surgery. You wouldn't have to spring ball, blah, blah, blah. But he said, you need to do what's best for your family. And you got my blessing to leave. And at that point, like I almost fell out of my chair because I definitely did not think this conversation was going that way. But it really showed me the heart he had. And I really gained a different respect for him. And obviously, once I started coaching there, Coach wasn't a man of many words when he played for him. Now, once I started coaching at Virginia, I had to try to skip around him because all he wanted to do was talk at that point.
Still trying to avoid him.
I'm like, Coach, you talk all the time. Like you couldn't have a 5 minute. It was going to be 15, 20 minutes. But it was great. We had a great relationship. He told me a lot of stuff that was going to come down the line for me. The first time I was on the College Football Hall of Fame ballot, and his typical self, he says, you're not going to get in this time. I'm like, oh, okay, Coach. All right. He said, but you're going to get in. And true to his word, you know, I wish he could have been here to see it, but he told me in 2014 that I was going to be in the College Football Hall of Fame. And sure enough, in 2020, I was able to get into it. And so it's kind of an honor to be in the same place. Now it's going to be 2 different places that I'm in a Hall of Fame with my head coach, George Welsh.
Oh, very deserving. I mean, both coach, yourself, and, you know, those teams you played on in the mid-90s at UVA, some amazing talent. And I mean, I could go through the list, but I'll just go through the Virginia Sports Hall of Famers that were on those teams. You have the Barber brothers, Rondé and Tiki, James Ferrier, Thomas Jones, who was actually the backup to Tiki and then became the All-ACC, All-American running back himself. You know, what were those practices like? What was the culture of that team? Because I just mentioned offense and defense, and there are plenty of guys I'm not even mentioning right now just because they're not in our Hall of Fame currently.
Well, you think we talk trash at the game. It was more trash talk at the practice field. I mean, we were very competitive. We loved each other, though. Mm-hmm. We hung out. We loved playing with each other. But when we put the pads on, and we was, especially during the spring, like you talking about this time of the year, it was all out warfare. I mean, we hated them, they hated us for 2 hours a day. And it made us all better. You know, I know that everybody used that saying, iron sharpens iron. And that's what it happened. I mean, I wouldn't have been the player I became without them. I mean, I was pushed every day to be great. You could not step out on that field at a practice. You would get embarrassed if you didn't bring your A game. Every day. I mean, you're going against Thomas Jones, Tiki Barber. Shoot, at the end of my career, Antoine Romack. You know, you just start thinking about all the backs that we had. You didn't bring your hard hat. It was going to be a problem. You know, so it was just great to be around all those guys. And like I said, I wouldn't be sitting here where I'm at today without them.
One of the most iconic points of that mid-90s University of Virginia football culture and that team was the game against Florida State. I mean, the 1995 game against Florida State, for anybody who's a sports fan in Virginia, they know what that game means. You don't even have to tell them, what day, what sport. You say 1995 against Florida State. You were actually a part of the final play where Warwick Dunn got stopped at the goal line. What was your assignment on that play, and what were you thinking going into that final play, knowing that if you guys stop them, this is Florida State's first loss in the ACC?
Well, I got to tell you, 45 years later, I can barely remember the game. That's the whole sad part about it. But anyway, so going into the game, I was so young. Like me and Adrian Burnham, we
that was your freshman year, correct?
But I redshirt freshman.
Redshirt.
We don't know no better. We just out there playing. And you hearing all the hype, Florida State, undefeated. And I'm thinking to myself, like, it's just another football game. I mean, we're going to play. We got a good team. We're gonna win the game. I mean, I really wasn't thinking of magnitude at that point. And honestly, I just was out there playing. And when that last play came up, I knew what was on the line. I can't tell you what my job assignment was. I can't really tell you. But back then, didn't nobody direct snap the ball to the running back. I don't remember, quite honestly, I don't remember them snapping it to him. They could have handed it to him. I don't really know. I just saw the ball go to the left, and I started to move to the left, I fell into the tackle. Burnham actually knocked the ball away from Warwick Dunn to keep it from going across the line. And little did we know at 18 years old, we would be forever remembered for that play. I mean, it's crazy to me that people talk about that game and talk about that play to this day. Like it was like yesterday. I really didn't know the magnitude of it. I'm happy that I was a part of it, but it was a team win. I mean, we battled back and forth. There's a lot of guys that played great that night. The fans were unbelievable. Our coaches were unbelievable. They put us in spots to win the game. And luckily we came out on top, man. If you talk to Florida State, they think the ball crossed the line.
I was just about to say,
but
they say the ball was this far away. They'll say it was over the line.
They know the truth.
That's right. Well, let's transition a little bit then to now your coaching career. I mean, anybody who's followed you throughout your career know that injuries played a role in your story, your overall story. What helped you when you were making that transition, when you realized that you just couldn't kick the injuries anymore and it was time to hang the cleats up, and then now you wanted to make the transition to coaching? What helped you most through that transition, or what drove you then to coaching?
But I have to just put it on my family. Like my mom and dad, my dad has an unbelievable story. My dad became a dad at 18. He lost his dad. He lost two brothers. Tragically, like in tragic deals. By the time he was 18 years old, he had two younger sisters and his mom. He became a grown man at 18. My mom's mom didn't have running water to 1998. I had brought her to the Auburn game at Virginia, and she still didn't have running water in the house. So, and then all my cousins, my family, like I say, like I got a great family, and I can't say we were wealthy money-wise, but we was wealthy love-wise and caring-wise. And our faith and our religion and stuff like that, just, it helped mold me and build me. So when I got hurt, did I go through some days of why me? Yes, but I went back onto how I got there, how special it was for the opportunity I'd had, to get this far, and things happen in life. I didn't die. My dad had suffered through death. My mom, my grandpa, who I never met, had died of a heart attack. My mom's dad had died of a heart attack before I was even born. So it wasn't death for me. So it really came to light. One night I'm at the basketball game after I got injured. I'm sitting down on the floor. They got me sitting on the floor because I really can't walk that well. And a guy with no legs came down the steps on his hands to say he felt sorry for me. And at that moment, I was like, you know what? I got nothing to feel sorry for. If a guy that has no legs feels sorry for me, why should I ever feel sorry for myself? I'm gonna be able to walk again. I might not be able to be the same player, but I'm gonna have use of my legs again. And I just decided, hey, look, I'm gonna make the best of the situation. It was things I wanted to do for my parents that really it bothered me that I couldn't do it right away. But things happen in life, and I'm the type of person that I see the glass half full instead of half empty. And I just took that approach, and every day I just tried to battle my way through and, see where life was going to take me.
Well, you've now been coaching for almost 2 decades. It's
20 years. Yeah.
20 years. Yeah. So almost 2 decades. What have you learned? What has helped make you a better coach? Like what would Anthony Poindexter, the coach now, say to Anthony Poindexter, the graduate assistant?
Well, I done got a lot more patience. Like I said earlier, I done learned that guys not going to have the same mindset as me, but I can try to help them with their mindset. Like, I think one of the things that the Lord blessed me with, he didn't bless me with an amazing vert. He didn't bless me with an amazing 40. He blessed me with a mindset of how to endure, how to, I think I'm pretty tough, or, at one point I was pretty tough. I can't say that I'm tough now, but I think I try to keep a positive spin on things. I think you got to go through some things to get to some things. So the way I coach these guys is like Rome won't built in a day. I said I became a 2-time All-American at Virginia, and I was sitting in the stands at the home games my redshirt freshman year because George Welsh didn't want a lot of guys on the sideline, so he made the guys that definitely won't go play sit in the stands. Right? So, I just try to coach them to, man, be thankful for where you at, work for what you want to get, be confident that it's going to happen. Now it's hard this day and age because the transfer portal make it hard, NIL, you got a lot of other stuff that I didn't have to deal with. You had to stay, really. But I just try to treat them like that, try to coach them the best I can coach them, and know that they got a mentor, not just a coach, a mentor, somebody they can lean on both on and off the field.
What do you enjoy most about coaching?
The kids. It's definitely the kids. I mean, that's the relationships that you form, the relationships that you build with them, watch them grow from being a freshman to a senior, watch them achieve their goals, watch them, I'm getting to the age now where my guys having kids, so, which is crazy. Like, so guys I initially started coaching, now they having babies and watching them start their families. And I just had one, Pablo Alvarez just got married a couple of weeks ago, and the guys FaceTimed me from the wedding. I couldn't make it, so they FaceTimed me, and it was just great, man, that they still think of me as, as a coach and as a friend and as a mentor for them, that they would want me to be at things like that, their weddings, that, had a few babies named after me. So, I just try to be the best person I can be to the kids. That's what I try to do.
I think one thing that's pretty standard along the whole journey is whether it's Lynchburg, University of Virginia, or any of your stops along the way coaching, it's those relationships. And it's building those relationships that are just the foundation of a happy life and career. The accolades have started. You've had your jersey retired by the university. You've made it to the College Football Hall of Fame class of 2020. And then obviously April 30th, you're going to be inducted into our Hall of Fame here in the state. If you ever get a free minute to think about, which I know are kind of few and far between, what do you reflect on when you look back at all of these awards and accolades and these recognitions? Like what is there something that's kind of a common theme when you think about all of these?
Well, I just think like hard work pays off. I think putting your head to the grind, and I never thought about going to the Hall of Fame. I never, when I got to college and after like 2 or 3 years, I started to think about the league, but that wasn't my driving force. I just wanted to win with the team I was on. I wanted to be in that moment. I don't know. I mean, I think it's special for my kids, even though they don't think I was any good. So, I don't know if they...
We'll educate them.
Yeah, but they don't watch the tape, so they don't believe none of it. But I think it's special for them because they weren't born when I was playing and stuff like that. They get a chance to share these moments. My wife get to share these moments with me. I'm fortunate enough that both of my parents still living. My brother, they get to share these moments because, like I said, I told them when people call me all the time and ask me about it, I said, like, I didn't get to hear by myself. I had a lot of people propping me up and allowing me to do what I, could do on the field because of their sacrifice. So I've been blessed, man. I really have. But I really don't know. I mean, it's a special thing, you know, but I think as I get a little bit older and get away from the game, you know, it'll be like half of these kids don't like that I coach now. And let somebody tell them, they don't even know I played, really.
That's right. You're just their coach.
Yeah, you just coach, man. Coach. So, and I really never go in the room and tell them. You know, I just let them figure it out for themselves, you know, because sometimes they be like looking at me like, man, what are you telling me that for? Like, I'm like, well,
yeah, what do you know?
I played a long time ago, but I mean, but no, it's these are special honors, and you know, I'm fortunate enough to be in this spot. But like I said, a lot of people helped me along the way.
Well, we're thrilled to be just a small part of it, and I appreciate you taking the time today. I know it's a busy time of year for you with spring practice ramping up, but thanks for taking the time, chatting with us, telling us a little bit about your story, and we're looking forward to it. 44 days away.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, man. I hope the weather great too. Now.
That's right. Yeah. Well, late April in Virginia Beach can be pretty nice. So knock on wood, we get one of those good stretches. So good luck on spring practice, and hopefully you bring that same energy with you to Virginia Beach here at the end of April.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you, buddy.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. I'd like to thank, obviously, Anthony Poindexter for joining us. Thank you to all of our partners, Priority Automotive, City of Virginia Beach, Davcon Inc., Optima Health, ESPN Radio 94.1, and of course, Davis Business Appraisers. Stay tuned for updates on future Hall calls. We got plenty more in store over the coming days and weeks as we lead up to the 2022 induction weekend. Of course, you can learn about all of those by following us on social media. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at VA Sports HOF. Once again, I'm Will Driscoll with the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. Whatever you do, participate, don't spectate. 2022 induction weekend is just 44 days away, and we'll see you next time.